Hi, everyone. This is Stacy Kantov from the Office of International Programs, and we have a special guest today from the Center for Student Engagement and Learning on campus, Stuart Sinning. Hi, Stuart. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
So thanks for joining us today. I'm going to share some information about volunteering, especially for F1 students, because there's some special things that you need to know about it. And I'm going to start by sharing my screen, and I'm going to talk to you about rules for international students to work or volunteer. Excuse me a second. Thanks for joining us. We're so happy you're here, and you'll see on the presentation there are great pictures of students volunteering. And one thing we're going to talk about today that's probably on your mind, and that is about volunteering during COVID. So we'll talk about that later too. So if you have questions about that, that will come up. I want to talk a little bit about F1 students and volunteering. First, let's talk about vocabulary. So volunteering can have different words that are used. Service learning is a really common one, and I know that Stuart will talk a little bit more about that. So not only are you volunteering, but you would be learning new things, and you may even have this inside of your classes as part of your class requirements. There's a word called community service or outreach, and sometimes, just so you know, community service can be required by the court. So someone who may be in trouble may have to do a community service project as part of that. It doesn't mean you can't do it, but sometimes they may ask you, do you need your court papers? And your answer will be no, because you are doing it for your own volunteering needs. And outreach, some organizations will have meetings or events so they can recruit volunteers. Support advocate, there may be organizations, hospitals, clinics, nonprofit organizations, which I'll talk about, that have people that volunteer to help. So if I go to the hospital, where is my uncle at? What floor? So they may have terms like support advocate, but you're a volunteer to help out. Community engagement. So many communities may have outreach people like this one who help you get involved with different events. Like there's an organization in Linwood called Homage, and they help the senior citizens with support services like filling out forms, but they need volunteers, especially language, because they may not be able to speak the language of the person that needs help. You may find places like public parks or beaches use the word docent. Like downtown Edmonds, the waterfront, they have docents that help you understand the water and the creatures in the water, and they often train you. And so that's a great experience to learn things, especially if you're interested in wildlife. Volunteerism, so we're talking, I use the word volunteer a lot, and volunteerism is that part of doing that. So there's different types of things you can do in that world. You may have to do a background check. And a background check, especially if you are volunteering with children or sensitive populations, they may ask it. And if you have questions, please let me know, because sometimes it will ask you things like, what's your social security number, which you might not have. It may ask you questions about where you live, if you have a criminal history. And some places may ask for you to do fingerprinting. Again, it's so that they can check to see if you have a criminal background, because you won't be able to volunteer if you do. Mentor. So I was a mentor when I was a student at Edmonds in the early days, and a mentor often is where you help other students or other people with certain things. It could be tutoring, it could be how to be a student, it could be just helping them with life. Tutor, we do have, for instance, tutoring center on campus, so you would help with different subjects depending on what your ability is. So I wanted to share those vocabulary words. So now the big part of the day is what volunteer opportunities are allowed. So remember, I mentioned as an F1 student, there are some restrictions to working off campus, and volunteering can kind of go into both the work and volunteer world. So you can volunteer at public institutions or nonprofit organizations. You cannot volunteer for a company or in a position that would normally be paid, even for your family. I've had students say, Stacy, I'm volunteering at my uncle's teriyaki shop. Unfortunately, that won't count, and that could get some issues for you for your status. So if you're unsure, please feel free to contact us, because there are going to be situations where it could be kind of in between. And if you're not sure, please let us know. What is considered work? I've had some students say, well, I'm not getting paid. I'm just getting free items. I'm getting free food, or but that's kind of considered work as well, because it's any service that you provide to a person or a company, and it's selling products, cleaning dishes at a restaurant, babysitting. And I don't know if anyone's ever heard, there are some organizations like Amway where you get maybe benefits or products for recruiting people to sell their products as well. And I had a student say, well, it's just like frequent flyer miles. It's not, unfortunately, because you are promoting a service and you are creating wealth and income. So that can be problematic. And if you ever have questions, we're so happy to help you with that, because I know it can be confusing. So one thing that we should talk about is what the expectations when you volunteer will be. There will be rules. For instance, we volunteered for an organization in Everett called Christmas House. And when you came, you were not allowed to bring anything inside, no bag or purse. And the reason is because they had issues with people taking items. So you may not want to bring a bag or purse or your backpack, especially with your wallet or your phone or your laptop, because if you leave it in the car, it could get broken into. So please ask these questions or consider these types of things before you go. You might want to have like pants or shirt that has pocket, so that you can put your phone or a little bit of money and your ID card in there, so you don't have to put things in the car. As I mentioned, there are places that may ask you to do a background check, and there may be questions that are confusing. Please feel free to let us know. They may want references. So that might be a person, a staff member, a teacher, or someone that knows you and can say good things about you. And it's good to ask people ahead of time, because sometimes I've had students say, can you give me a letter by today? And I might not be able to. So please prepare ahead of time for that. There may be time requirements. For instance, we had this relationship with a local elementary school, and they needed tutors for the children, and they wanted a commitment for every Tuesday for the entire 3 months. And some students couldn't do it, whether it be for class or other issues. So make sure that if you make a commitment, that you're clear about it with them and yourself. Age requirements. There are some organizations, like we have the local animal shelters. They often want someone that's 18 or older. Sometimes they'll waive the age requirement if you go in a group, and maybe Stuart, you can talk about that later, because sometimes like the Cecil office will go on group projects, and sometimes if there's an adult leader, they'll allow for volunteer opportunities. Gender requirements. There are shelters or women's care centers that may prefer female or male, depending on the center or the place. So be aware of that. Language needs, there, especially in Linwood, the Linwood Food Bank, and there's other places in the area that need languages, either to translate documents for people or to help out clients. And in most cases, they understand you're not a professional person, so they don't expect you to be perfect, but they just want you to help customers or clients so that they can understand the information better. And then restrictions. There may be some restrictions about what you can and cannot do, like where you can go and what you're able to do. And this, on the right side, you'll see a poster, and that's just a poster of a volunteer and community support fair. And once we get back on campus, we have had volunteer fair type things, and we've had organizations that have come on campus to give you more information about their opportunities. What are the benefits of volunteering? Some of you may want to do it for transfer to university, or you may do it for job background, or to learn about the area you might want to, or to enjoy life here, to get to know people in your community. It's great for a resume. volunteering in activities, and a lot of US students will have about 30 hours or so of requirement to graduate from high school to volunteer. It's great for university transfer because of course your grades are important, but they may also want to see what else that you do that helps them choose you. What's special? And meeting people in the US, right? Like when I went to school in Japan, one of the things I wanted to do was make friends. So this is a great way to make friends, especially different age groups, because you at the college, you may meet people are your age, but then out there you can meet people of all different ages, which I think is great, especially learning the culture. You can make new friends, what I mentioned. You can practice English, and many of you probably speak better English than me, and I know can write better English than I can, but you might learn slang, you might learn things about culture in the US, or different words that you can use, or different sayings, and I think that's the fun part. And of course, one of my favorite things about volunteering is helping those in need. I think that's really important, and it's something that will really change your life. It will really make a difference in what you may do in the future. And it will help with personal growth. It will help you see things in a different way. And it may also help you get recommendation letters or references. Remember, I mentioned I have students will ask me for a letter, but we didn't have much connection. So I couldn't really write a strong letter for them. And you might be able to ask a volunteer coordinator or someone that you're helping with for a letter. And you'll have some great memories. You can see this picture right here. Everybody's smiling, and it's a great memory. I remember my one of my big volunteer experiences in Japan, and I will never forget it. And I forget a lot of things from the past. I have to tell you, as you get older, some things fade away, but those memories will never fade away for me. So there are some opportunities on campus. The OIP is our international office, and we often need help for different reasons, different types of events that we do, like international night. The housing office may need volunteers. The Stewart's office, Service Learning Center, we have events that we do typically. Of course, that's when we go back on. And then clubs do a lot of volunteering and activities, and we get a lot of requests for student volunteers. Off campus, one of my favorite websites is Volunteer Match, and we can look at that toward the end of this session. You can type in the city that you want, and then it can show you different opportunities. And Volunteers of America is also one place that has a great website with different volunteer opportunities. Things to consider, please be on time. It's really important to be on time, because there's sometimes they'll train you very quickly before you have to begin what you're doing. And if you're late, you might miss what's going on, or you could stop what they're trying to do. Please communicate if there's confusion or you're not sure. Please talk to someone and let them know you're not understanding. Of course, be honest if it's not a good fit. I've had a student tell me, well, Stacy, I'm not really crazy working with animals. That's okay. It's all right to be honest and let them know, I'm sorry, but this is just not a good fit. They're not going to be angry at you if you're honest and you let them know ahead of time. Now, if you just don't show up and you just let them down, then they might be sad that you didn't communicate with them. And please explore what works best for you. Maybe bring a friend and try things out and see, will I like this? Is this something that's fun for me? And remember the time commitment. If you only have a short amount of time to volunteer, you don't want to commit to something more than you can actually do. You also want to think about the organization needs. What kind of skills or talents or abilities do you have? I mentioned language. It can be, do you know sports? Are you really good at playing basketball? Are you really good at tutoring math? Think about the skills that you may have. Some of us can tell you what our worst qualities are, but you might not have ever sat down and thought, what can I do that will be helpful? Emotional impact. Think about, I remember I was volunteering, and one of the women that I was helping had told me that she had been homeless, and this was going to be the first Christmas that she got to spend with her children and give them gifts. And I almost started crying, and I tried to hold back because it was really important that she was sharing that with me, and I was trying to help her. And so I had to stop myself from crying because it really made me sad and happy at the same time. So remember that you will feel emotion when you're helping in these situations. And also, please be respectful. I know it's hard sometimes if you are not understanding something or you're a bit nervous, you may laugh or make fun of things that you're not sure about, but please be careful about that, because I know you're not wanting to harm anyone, but they may not understand that you're like, how many has this happened? Like when I was in Japan, if you don't understand something or you're confused, you're more laughing at yourself because you're confused, but someone may not understand that. So just be aware of that when you're in a situation where you're confused or lost or that kind of thing. One thing that people often ask for, every time someone volunteers, I hear students say, "Can I have a certificate?" And I will let you know that not every place will give you a certificate. So please be aware of this, especially nonprofit organizations. They may not. Some events, like if you do a 4K run to raise money, they may give you a certificate. And I know that the Cecil office, Stewart's office may give it, but not for every event, but for once in a while, and he'll talk more about that. So I really encourage you, and this is just a rough example, but keep track of where you're volunteering, when you volunteered, what you did, who was in charge. And that way, when you're putting things on your resume or you're sharing this information, you can remember. I've volunteered many times and I couldn't just tell you from the top of my head when I did it. But if you create this for yourself, it doesn't have to be this fancy. It can just be a checklist on your phone or your computer. So if somebody asks when and where you volunteered, you'll have that information ahead of you because you might not remember. A lot of people ask for certificates, and as I tell you, you may not get it. The other thing that I'll mention is once we get back on campus, many of the organizations don't provide transportation for you. Now, Cecil will for many of their activities, but if you're volunteering on your own, you may need to consider carpooling with friends or planning out the bus schedule. I know that Community Transit has a planning part on their website where you can put in the address and it will let you know what buses you can take, but not all opportunities will provide transportation. And in just a second, Stuart's going to talk about the Center for Service Learning on our campus. You can go to our website to learn about clubs, and you can email the international office and the advisors. I'm happy to help you. And then there are different websites and local connections that we can get you connected to, especially ones that students already did. And I'm going to now introduce Stuart, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about Cecil. And I love Cecil. When I was a student, we didn't really have a place on campus that helped support service learning or volunteering. So it's awesome to me to have that. So thank you for joining us, Stuart.
Thank you, Stacy. And I think your first part of the presentation was going to cover a lot of things I was going to cover. So I want to thank you for re-emphasizing some of those rules and what those terms are and some of the benefits of volunteering and service learning. So I may retouch on some of those, but just to introduce myself. Once again, my name is Stuart Sinning, and I work for the Center for Student Engagement and Leadership. And within that area or department, we have a lot of different things going on. As you can see from my background, in addition to the Center for Service Learning, which I'm going to talk about today, I also manage the food pantry, the green team. We have a game room. We have our student union building, the Triton Student Center. And also housed within our center is clubs, student government. We have our student cultural diversity and inclusion office. So we have our student activities board. So lots of extracurricular and co-curricular activities, even if volunteering is not for you. But I'm going to just talk about service learning. So service learning is a little different than just your general volunteer project. In other words, volunteering, we can go to an event and move some tables around and help out with certain things. But service learning is a step beyond that. Think of it like there's three parts to service learning. There's the actual service to the community. there's the learning, and learning can take many forms. Uh, Learning, you're going to learn something just by helping out with the organization. You're going to learn about the organization, about some of the community needs being met by this organization, or this project. You're going to learn about social justice issues. You're going to learn about equity gaps. You're going to learn about um, environmental issues. So there's lots of learning going on. And the other part of service learning is the chance to reflect on that service. So you did the work, uh, you learned something from it, but what were your takeaways? What did other people take away that maybe you didn't? And maybe you saw a different perspective. Reflection is a chance for students to talk after the project, if it's a group project, and just share out. Everybody gets a chance to talk and talk about what impacted them. And sometimes it can get emotional if we're working with a community partner, dealing with homelessness, or food insecurity, or any number of other social justice issues. Oftentimes, these service learning experiences let let our students know about issues they're not even aware of, or things going around in our community. Um, Not only that, but it expands your worldview, um, and it it really enhances the learning at Edmonds Community College if you take advantage of some of these opportunities. Um, Stacy already talked about some of the benefits. Let's just let you know my story. I started as a student here at Edmonds College, um, and I took a class and they required service learning. And I went out into the community and tried to get um, our residents in the Linwood area to sign up for some free energy audits in order to save them money, um, and use less resources that impacts the environment. Um, and I grew to love it. I met a lot of friends. I networked with people in the profession I was, going to go into, which was sustainability. And I did around 200 hours just because I couldn't get enough. I was energized by it.
It's
Um,
addicting. I'll just let everyone know that. Like, I love it. I love volunteering.
yeah, and when you volunteer with other students, you start making friends. You start wanting to go to different things together, and it really helped me get through college. I was an older student, obviously, and I didn't have a lot of friends at the college. And through volunteering, I was able to really build my community. Um, and after I graduated, I was offered a part-time job helping coordinate some of these service learning opportunities for students. And soon after, I was put in the role of manager to manage these projects. So I can honestly say that service learning and the opportunities I took really changed my life. I had no plans to be the manager for the Center for Service Learning when I went to the college. So opportunities are available, and you never know what direction you're going to take. I know some of our students, they may end up working for one of these organizations or continue to volunteer after they graduate, or go back to their home countries and start working with some of the same issues that you see, because a lot of the issues we deal with are global issues, not just related to our community. Um, and you know you're in Washington State, and take advantage of the opportunities to learn about where you're at. That's one of the benefits of coming to a college here, is learning about the community where you're at. So with that, I want to talk to you a little bit about how you get involved in service learning, because I could talk all day about service learning. What I'm going to do is share my screen with you and just show you how easy it is to look for service learning projects. So give me 1 second. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can
Oh,
see it.
okay. You can see the college
Yes.
website? Okay, great. So I'm just going to show you how easy it is once you get onto the college website. So you'll just go to Triton Life, and under Triton Life, you'll see athletics, arts and culture, our Center for Student Cultural Diversity and Inclusion, our main web page, Center for Student Engagement Leadership. You'll see clubs, our food pantry. So I'm always going to plug food pantry. If you're a student in need of food, please visit that website. We can help you out. We have our game room, green team, and right here is service learning. So we'll just go to service learning, and hopefully you'll see that page. And the first page you'll get to is just kind of what I talked about. Um, we introduce what service learning is, and then we list some of our projects. Right now, in remote operations, we've created a special page for virtual projects. And so that's really what I'm going to focus on today. I think once we get back to normal, you can definitely just bookmark this page and check out some of the opportunities that will be available on campus or in person. Right now, we are limited in person volunteer events. We're not advocating anybody go out in the community unless, at least from Edmonds Community College, we're not going to be sending students out there just for probably liability issues. Having said that, if you find an organization that you feel comfortable with, that you can volunteer with, we'll definitely be able to help you track that if you want to. But let me just, first of all, say there are some service learning requirements, some more information and some forms. The requirements, Stacy went over a lot of them, but I'll just repeat some of the important ones here. You can't receive money for your work, serve when no academic objective is addressed, at least as far as service learning goes. You can volunteer and do service learning for a church, but you cannot promote the specific faith or religion of that church. In other words, a church may be doing a clothing drive or a food drive or a food bank or something like that. That's perfectly fine, as long as you're not promoting the faith or teaching religious content.
Can I say something, Stuart, if you don't mind? I do
Sure.
want to mention this because students have brought this up to me. A lot of nonprofit organizations are funded by churches, and many of them do not expect you to be part of their religion or their practice. Just be aware, because I did have a student who said, I went to a volunteer, like a food bank place, and they had us pray before, and I felt uncomfortable. And I told them, you don't have to, just be respectful while you're there, but be aware that you may volunteer for churches or organizations that are not the same as your faith, and that's okay. Just make sure that you're, respectful. That's the only thing I want to say.
Yeah, and that's good advice. I've definitely volunteered for a church, and sometimes people, some folks will pray, um, and there'll be certain people who will want to, reach out to other folks to have them join the church or whatever, and you can just respectfully say, I'd like to just bow out of that aspect. Um, and just continue to help them in the non-religious way, I guess. And hopefully that's the whole point of the project, is to have a community service. So if you have any questions about a certain activity sponsored by a church, you can feel free to contact me. And then we have some forms. Now, I will say this. If you are doing service learning as part of a classroom requirement or extra credit, these forms may not be necessary. We always defer to the faculty. They will probably have certain requirements that they will need for part of their class, whether it's a presentation or taking a picture and discussing it on a discussion board or answering a few reflection questions. Other classes have a 30-hour requirement, so a lot more into it. So it just depends on the class you're taking. So uh, you will not always have to fill out these forms. Now, if you want to do service learning on an individual basis, we will need some form of knowing how many hours you participated in. Uh, and we want to kind of have you answer some reflection questions so we know the learning that took place and you have a chance to reflect and kind of internalize uh, what you did and why it was important and what you got out of it. So that's what these forms are for. But just read all this if you're going to embark on a service learning project on your own. And you can always contact me and I'll walk you through all this. And I'll even help you find a project if you need certain help with that. Having said that, I'm going to go right to the virtual project page. Let's see here.
And a lot of people, I mean, there are still in-person opportunities, but as Stuart said, you may not feel comfortable, and that's okay. There are some really cool online volunteer opportunities. I had a student volunteer for a crisis line. So basically, she texted or called students online to give them support during the pandemic and COVID-19, just emotional support. You don't have to be a professional, and some of the organizations train you on what to say and what to do. Some of the projects are a little bit easier, like reading books to children or reaching out to senior citizens at retirement homes. So there are some cool activities to do online.
Yeah, thanks, Stacy. And so this is our virtual product space. So when we went into remote operations when the pandemic hit. Most of our products were in person. We did park cleanups. We did a lot of on-campus projects, with different departments. Um, we would go around and clean up the campus. We'd have native gift making. We would volunteer with a powwow and it would just work with a lot of different departments. We don't have those opportunities right now, nor do we have some of the in-person opportunities out in the community, such as some of the events put on by the cities of Linwood and Edmonds and some of the other nonprofit partners we have. And not only that, a lot of them are not set up to take on volunteers right now because of COVID restrictions as well. Um, so what we've done is we've tried to put on our project website here a list of virtual opportunities that you can look into. Some of these are homegrown by our department. Some of these we're reaching out to the community and listing these projects on our website too. And in some cases, we're collaborating with and latching on to different products out in the community. For instance, this virtual service project that you see right here called the Corona Coaster. Uh, we are leading into this time to see what the needs are. This is a project dedicated to kind of archiving the pandemic experience and what people are going through, and it requires students to plan to make a video, to do interviews, and this will be put into the Edmonds Historical Museum for eternity. So this project, it's more of a student team project, but uh, a lot of different skills will be used. We need a producer, we need someone to write the script, probably some transcription, who knows, and we need some people on air to conduct these things. So this is a perfect example of a project where we've kind of turn it around so that you can do these things from home. The nice thing is about these virtual products is you don't have to get up at 8 in the morning and meet us at the van. Um, a lot of these are asynchronous, which means you can do it on your own time within your schedule. So that's always nice too. You can do an hour here, an hour there. Um, so another project is Becoming Aware. This is an on-campus program in collaboration with our Center for Student Cultural Diversity and Inclusion. And so it's really creating content to spread awareness on cultural diversity. and it allows students to research the issues, learn more about it, and kind of reflect on their own experiences. Um, we're working right now with our domestic violence team to come up with more products. Those will be coming out in winter quarter. Um, as you can see, there's some COVID-related opportunities, creating masks for frontline organizations. Um, Stacy, you mentioned volunteer match. We have this link right on our website, and why not? I'll just click this on.
Yeah,
Click this
please
here.
do, and show them what it looks like.
So if now I sign up for a newsletter, so I put in my interest and my geographical area, and I get sent volunteer opportunities every week based on my interests. And you can definitely sign up for this if you want to keep on top of all the opportunities out there. But you can. I don't know why it's giving me this screen here. But here's some virtual opportunities. So you can say, oh, I'm interested in working with children and youth. And you can click on this and you can see all the different opportunities out there. Now, obviously you can narrow this down because you're not going to look through 152,000 different opportunities. But you can, like I said, I'm not sure why it's giving me the, so I'm just going to search Linwood, Washington. And you can find some different opportunities here. Now, some of these are paid, some of these are volunteers, some are group projects, some are suitable for professionals. You just have to take a look and see what's available. It could be delivering food. It could be at a food pantry. So it could be an environmental cleanup. You just kind of got to narrow your options here. And you can say what your skills are. You can say what you're interested in, and it will continue to narrow down your search until you can find something that interests you. And there's other portals as well to find volunteer opportunities. This is a good one that we like.
And just double check too, because sometimes if you put Linwood, it kind of throws in like Seattle or Everett, which is not really far from us, but it is if you don't have a car, right? So just double check that when you get the results, because sometimes it will show other cities too.
Yes, and I think you can put in within 5 miles or within 10 miles of the zip code you put in as well.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite websites too.
And you can see there's COVID-19 volunteering as well. So if you really want to help out and make a difference, as far as the pandemic goes, you can click on this. Let me see if this will, I lost my cursor here. Hold on a second. All right, let me go back. Okay, another portal is Idealist. And we go through and sometimes we find different projects that we'll highlight on our website as well. Ones that we think would be a good fit for some of our students. For instance, COVID Monitor for Farmer Frog. Farmer Frog is a local nonprofit that works to create community farms and teach our youth how urban farming works and the importance of local food. And they also deliver food to our food pantry here on the campus. So that's a great kind of partnership where we're going to help send them volunteers if we can. Another portal is Zooniverse Research Projects. If you're into STEM, this is a great portal. We have a lot of students doing this for some of their classes. They go to Zooniverse and they pick certain research projects and they just can do so many units and they get credit for that. And so we have a link to that, and we have a Zooniverse project reflection form that we asked you to fill out so we can keep track of what you're doing as far as this goes. So this is another one, and we have some suggested projects here. You can do anything from identify manatee calls from audio clips to tracking birds. There was even a penguin count where you went on a website and counted penguins. So there's lots of different cool opportunities on this website as too. Catch a Fire is another website, skill-based volunteer matching organization. We're also partnering with a local senior housing community called Shepherd's Garden, where we're interested in bringing student projects to the residents there. The residents there are quarantining COVID, and sometimes they're dealing with a lack of um, being social with other people, and so we say, if you have something to share, maybe it's just reading a story or sharing some of your culture or organizing a bingo, or if you have a talent, reading a poem or sharing some music, we're open to all those ideas, and so are they, and we can just hook you up with the residents there or a group, and we can do something really meaningful to that community. And I've listed a bunch of different things here. And we just ask you to submit a proposal. We'll take a look at it and we'll get it cleared, and we can set you doing that. And we just list some more stuff here. And we update our website regularly. We're probably not going to add too much between now and the start of winter quarter, but we're going to be meeting a lot this quarter to come up with more opportunities to list on our website. And as we get back to normal, we hope to return to some of the events we normally have. And these include National Days of Service at a local park, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Earth Day, Make a Difference Day, lots of different trips out around the community. And we do provide transportation and snacks, and a facilitated reflection where we just come together and talk about what we did. And those events are really cool. We also have alternative breaks. Now we're not going to be able to do one this winter quarter. Normally we would take a group of 16 students out to a state or national park and trade some volunteering for some lodging and some food. And these are projects students won't ever forget, because when you spend 3 or 4 days with a group of students working hard, making a difference, talking and sharing stories, you can make lifelong connections, and they're just amazing opportunities. And it's usually minimum charge, like $30 for 3 or 4 days with food and lodging included. So hopefully, if you're here in the next academic year or two, you'll be able to avail yourself to some of those opportunities if we get back to normal, whatever that means. Also wanted to quickly say, one of the benefits is, like I said, if you're going to transfer to another university, you want to keep track of your volunteerism. They want to know what you do besides just getting that 4.0. Want to be a well-rounded person, and some of these opportunities can help in that endeavor. Same with looking for work after you graduate. There's lots of opportunities to utilize some of these skills to help you advance whatever your goals are. One thing I want to say is, for students that go above and beyond, who put in a lot of different hours, we do offer a certificate to international students who put in 25 or more service learning hours. So we'll track that as long as you do the right sign-in sheets and send us the right forms, and we can honor you with a certificate. And usually at the end of the year, we have a celebration of service learning where we give out the awards. Usually it's a banquet that didn't happen this year. We just had an online virtual celebration, but it's still a chance where we can honor all the work and the impact to the community that all our volunteers have done over the year. So, and I know I'm speaking mostly international students. We do have a presidential award, but that is just available to U.S. citizens. So, um, so I won't go into that too much. Gosh, what else can I say about service learning?
I wanted to see if anyone had questions for Stuart. If anyone has questions, there's a way I believe you can say it anonymously if you don't want to put your name, because I know that can be embarrassing. But please feel free to ask questions for Stuart or I if you have questions. And we both have offered early on that if you need help searching or you find some opportunities and you have questions about it, and Stuart mentioned one project that may have a small fee to have your accommodations. Many projects won't ask you to pay for things, and please be careful if you're online and it asks you to pay to see the information. It might be legitimate because they may just be asking you to cover your personal expenses if you're going somewhere. But in general, most places do not have you pay. And if it seems kind of unbelievable, check with someone first, because sometimes it's helpful to have someone else look at that.
Yeah, Stacy, a good example is right now we're organizing a project around birds. And there is a small fee associated with that. And so in these cases, if it's materials or things like that, the Center for Service Learning will usually pick that up. But with that, we do ask that students commit to that project if we're going to, spend some money on their behalf, whether it's supplies or a membership to something. But those are rare where there's actually a fee or something like that. In terms of alternative break, $30 it just covers some of the expenses for food and travel, where we wouldn't be able to use student fees for some of those things. So,
And someone asked Stuart about the Corona coaster. Is it open to international students?
yes, yeah.
Good question.
All our projects are open to all students. There are caveats. If it's a particular project that requires a certain skill or maybe bilingual, or like Stacy said, maybe there's a gender where it's a women's shelter and only women are allowed. Those are certain restrictions, but usually we list all those restrictions in the project posting.
I also wanted to mention, because right now it's not a factor, but when we go back to on-campus volunteering where you go in a group with Cecil, if you're under 18, you may be asked for a trip and waiver of liability sheet. And most of you have that sheet already that your family signed before you came. So an advisor at the OIP office could actually get it from your record and send it to you to share with Cecil or another organization if they're asking for it, because when you're under 18, this could come up.
Yeah, if you're under 18 and you sign up for a project that may have some hazards, even working in our campus community farm, there's trip hazards. We have a beehive out there now. They're not African bees, and they're not probably going to sting you. But if you have an allergic reaction, that could be something you need to be aware of. So we try to make you aware of all the hazards, but most of the time we'll have our students that are under 18 get a parent to sign something if that's the case. But I don't think international students need to do that. We just want to make them aware of the hazards, just to do our due diligence.
I've had students ask me, so just feel free to ask us, because we can just send you a copy of the sheet that your parents already sent. And that's helpful for the organizations that ask for it. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else, Stuart, that you think that students would like to know about Cecil? I call it Cecil, everyone. That's the nickname.
Yeah, well, I want to just let students know that even though we're in remote operations. Our center is dedicated to making sure students have access to our services. Uh, fees, well, student fees are still being paid, and believe it or not, we still have a crew of 30 something student staff who are working together on virtual projects. And those are things like Among Us nights, game room tournaments, um, learning opportunities, virtual service projects. Clubs can still charter and get together. They can still receive funding. Student government is still active and having meetings. Um, and so if you're a student who wants to stay engaged and connect with other students, visit the Cecil webpage and look for all those opportunities. Uh, Find our social media pages and like us to hear about upcoming events. And I know if you're a student, you're also receiving our weekly newsletter, the Triton, I don't know what it's called, Triton Life newsletter. That could be it. We just changed it. Pay attention to some of those opportunities. Cecil is there to enhance your education and enhance your time at the college. And take a look at our title. We're student engagement and leadership. So that's really our mission, is to engage our students and provide leadership opportunities. And we'll be having a virtual conference later this year and all kinds of other stuff. So we haven't gone away. We're working hard behind the scenes. So you just had to connect with us virtually. And if you ever want to talk to one of the professional staff at Cecil, we have virtual links. Just go on our website and you can see the hours where you can just click and someone will be there live to talk to you, just like I am right now.
That's great.
Anything about service learning or any other things behind me. And you can see my contact information behind me, and Stacy has it as well.
Thank you so much, Stuart. And thanks to everyone that joined us today. We're so happy you came. And both Stuart and I were students at Edmonds. We both had wonderful experiences with volunteering, and we want the same for you. And we know it's hard, especially if you're in another country, but we're here to support you and guide you. But I know it will change your life, because it sure did change our life.
Yep.
So thank you and have a wonderful day, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.